Vectors and scalars. In this lesson we will learn the addition of vectors using triangle law and parallelogram law of vectors. Here we have two vectors. Vectors can be represented as AB bar or simply A bar. Vector is having initial point and terminal point. This is the initial point, that is, and this is the terminal point. Terminal point is called the head and initial point is called the tail. Addition of vectors. If we have two vectors A bar and B bar, then to add them they are positioned so that the initial point of one coincides with the terminal point of the other. Now as shown in the figure, this is A bar and this is B bar. Now I want to add these two. Now bring the B bar without changing the direction like this. Now tail of the B bar coincides with the head of the A bar. Now to find the sum of A bar and B bar, we draw a vector from the initial point of A bar to the terminal point of the B bar. This vector represents the sum of vector A and vector B, and this is called as the triangle law of addition of vectors. Parallelogram law of vectors. Suppose we have two vectors A bar and B bar. This is A bar and B bar. To add these two vectors, let us consider the two vectors A bar and B bar as the adjacent sides of a parallelogram. Then the vector in the direction of the diagonal gives the sum of the vectors A bar and B bar. This is called as the parallelogram law of vectors. Now we have two vectors A bar and B bar as shown in the figure. I want to add them. To add the vector B bar to A bar, bring this vector without changing the direction as shown in the figure like this. This is B bar. Bring this B bar join with A like this. The initial point of B coincides with the terminal point of the A bar. Now these two become the adjacent sides of a parallelogram. Now let us complete the parallelogram. This is the complete parallelogram using two vectors A bar and B bar. Now the resultant of A bar plus B bar, the sum of vector A and vector B in the direction of the diagonal of this parallelogram. Now if we draw a diagonal from the initial point of A bar to the terminal point of B bar, this diagonal gives the resultant of the vector A plus vector B. This is called as the parallelogram law of vectors. It is used to add two vectors A and B.